It occurred to me the other night that in the 11 years I've been doing this, I haven't reviewed all of the Freddy movies. I used to rent the Nightmare on Elm Street movies all the time when I was a kid, and it seemed wrong that I haven't revisited them all. Although I'm going back and forth and if I want to subject myself to the remake again. So for tonight, how about we discuss A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, The Dream Master. My personal favorite in this series of movies is the third one, Dream Warriors. It was the perfect mix of scary and funny Freddy. It had by far the best set of non-Freddy characters. They were all unique and they were more than cannon fodder. You actually liked and cheered for them. Number 4, not so much. One of the first things that happens in this movie is Freddy kills off the survivors from the previous one. The three, Joey, Kincaid, and Kristen, who had the power to pull people into dreams, are the last of the Elm Street kids. Instead of killing them off right away, Freddy gets Kristen to pull someone else into her dream so he can have new friends to play with before throwing her into a lake of fire. I didn't like that at all. The people in the third movie were great. Kincaid is probably my favorite human character that isn't Nancy Thompson in the entire series. He was so cool and his super strength reminded me of me. Freddy kills him and his two friends, and we're left with a lot less interesting group of heroes. Literally the first time you meet them, you learn everything you need to know about them and how they're going to die. It's also kind of a silly concept too. Well, silly for a Freddy movie. Before Kristen dies, she pulls Alice in and then gives her her power. Instead of Freddy then turning around and killing Alice, he allows her to live so she can involuntarily bring him more victims. That makes sense. But when her friends die, Alice gets their powers and personalities too, and they don't really explain why. So by the time the final showdown happens, she has a Thanksgiving feast worth of powers and increased strength, intelligence, attitude, and karate. And speaking of silliness, this movie has the goofiest way of bringing Freddy back to life and then killing him. From what I've read, the resurrection started as a joke, but they couldn't figure out a better way, so they literally had a dog peeing fire on him to bring him back. Plus, Freddy gets defeated by seeing his reflection. I understand those are always two big questions when you do these movies. How do we bring him back and how do we kill him? But seriously, those are the best two answers you could come up with? It's not a good movie by any stretch, but it does have some marks in its favor. The fact that they brought back the actual actors who played Kincaid and Joey was a nice touch. They had to recast Kristen when Patricia Arquette decided not to return, but Kincaid and Joey are the original actors. Another notch in this movie's favor are the effects. They really are top-notch. Debbie's Roach Motel death is an absolute highlight. While she's running away from Freddy, she's becoming more and more bug-like until she runs into the sticky substance of a roach trap. It's so gross, it's so disturbing, and it's so wonderful. Speaking of that, to my surprise, the movie did something clever that, unless you know, it will go completely over your head. At one point, a teacher mentions Kafka, and later in the movie, Debbie dies after turning into a bug, like in probably the most depressing short story ever, Kafka's Metamorphosis. Still, there's a lot of silliness in the movie and a bunch of call-outs, like Kincaid's dog being named Jason, but the Kafka reference was a lot more obscure, and it does deserve a golf clap. While I complained earlier about Freddy's downfall, I have to give credit where credit is due. It looks awesome. I love the visuals and how it played out a lot more than I disliked how it got there. Interestingly enough, out of the entire series, this is Robert Englund's favorite. Still, I think this movie misses a lot more than it hits. I didn't really care about the characters, and the ones I did like got killed off way too quick. Even if we take out those big red flags, this movie still has a lot of issues. It drags at points, the characters are nothing special, and you just wait for these people to fall asleep so you can see Freddy again. 5 Dr. Chainsaws.